Uduasha city, where the sun is a mirror and the moon a shadow. 800 years ago, the gates of death were broken by the Emperor Immortal. The 5 key bearers, however, had already unlocked them and walked right through. It is in Uduasha city they dwell. Now, the ghost field breathes next to our reality, lit by the eternal flame of the well of Udu. It is a second skin, a place where thought and will struggle against gravity and light. In other places, the dead congregate in the ghost field, but in Uduasha, the well city, the hell city, they fall straight into the flames. See its glittering districts: Kshitijpur, where the rich plot to buy the horizon; Bunda West, where the refugees of 2 different nations flock; and Pasarhandu, the vertical maze of market and murder. And here is Udepat, where the ceaseless temple resides. Its inhabitants, a family, a snake, and a god. The temple has stood since before the gods of this world were forgotten. Watch as it turns the wheels of revolution. Welcome to Desperate Attune, an actual play podcast about people who take risks so they can survive against the odds.
Alright, Tree, take it away. Take it away from me. I don't want to see it anymore.
Here it goes. Also, I've had this cough. The cough has made me somewhat deaf.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Like, it has messed with the way that my brain code switches.
Oh,
It's very odd.
The code switching is stored in the tonsils.
A friend of mine once said sadness is stored in the balls, and I think that's the most accurate variation of this.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
What?
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Welcome back to
This is our opening.
Welcome back to Desperate Attune. Last session, we saw the crew try and infiltrate the base of the Kingfisher, a strange deity focused on convincing people such as the royal Freya that she is destined to be the ruler of some part of the world. Normally, the entire world, but in this case, it seems that Freya has become convinced that she is one of the destined monarchs of Skovland. As a result, the crew found out that the best way to get in to the base is some kind of boat. But because they didn't want to take this approach, instead they decided that they would accidentally tunnel their way in. This is definitely normal and totally not a problem. But before we get to that, we have some downtime on Abbas's part. Abbas, what have you been up to since the ending of the last score?
Ending of the last score, that was what did I do the last score? That was where we headed off the deal between Vickers' sister and Ragam from Hara, and I recruited Goopy into the newspaper. Yeah, okay.
Correct.
What has Abbas been up to? What's the canon reason he hasn't been around? Maybe he was just working on the newspaper. He was
sense.
just off. Yeah.
Goopy was not the world's best writer, and though he produces a lot of words, but the words may not be very good.
Yeah.
So I think you've definitely spent more time than you should trying to fix his work. But like, if you want to continue working on the newspaper clock, this might be like a good time to roll for it to see like how well that goes.
All right, let's work on this newspaper, which is, and I guess the role is to understand what it is to make some sense of Goopy's words.
Yes, indeed, correct. That is exactly what it is.
All right, so that'll be study.
Study makes very good, perfect sense here. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't think any other modifiers need to be applied.
Once.
Okay. Oh wow, he is impenetrable.
I think that Goopy is kind of person who creates new words as he writes, overcome by the kind of emotion that he's feeling. But unfortunately, what this means is that half the time you can't tell what he's actually saying. So you read this, and he's talking about like how him and his best friend Baga, years and years ago when they were still kids, got into a whole lot of trouble. ended up killing somebody out of self-defense and had no choice to kind of fall into a life of crime. But it's about all you understand in this 1,000-word document. And unfortunately, he's handed you this first 1,000 words and said, "There's more on the way, don't worry. I just wanted to get this in your hands."
The first page is like a list of various definitions of the word crime from various glossaries.
He thinks he's being very clever. And maybe he even is,
It's like how Moby Dick opens with random quotations about whales.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you will get one tick, but it's really quite bad. I think that if you send this to your friend Triparna, he's just gonna be like, I guess we're not taking this seriously.
Yeah.
No, because this is not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, this is supposed to be we haven't actually published anything. This would be one of her first stories as well. So,
Yes, indeed.
how to deal with this? Because I can't take this to.
This would be your only story. You won't have You won't have pages for anything else.
Yes.
More patience, for that matter.
I can't take this to anyone. I guess I just have to discard it or just come back to it later to actually deal with, or maybe have to wait for Goopy's entire manuscript to make sense of everything.
You can do the downtime action again.
You could.
I don't know. Seems like a bit of a waste of a downtime action, because one of the things that I did want to do, which could wait, was to figure out what it is that Begum Frunher actually wants to do. What's the play here? Why this temple, and what I can do to interfere with her plans. But that could wait, because we're not dealing with that right now anyway.
Let's do it like this. I think if you want to do that, roll this, and then we can take the scene out next downtime, because I don't want to get too caught up before we do our score.
Yeah. Or you know what?
I think it would make sense for you to be doing this now. So
Also, if you're stuck for things to do, you can always just reduce heat or just train or something low stakes.
Yeah, that's true. Tell you what, or you know what? Maybe I'll just stick with this newspaper angle. Let's try it again.
okay.
This is
You're
why
still
Abbas
working
was
with
gone.
Goopy? Or are
Yeah.
you
Why
doing
not?
something else?
No,
Go on, okay.
I'll work with Goopy, because I think it's funnier that way. This is why Abbas was gone for an entire session. Just this.
Indeed. Yeah, very good. I mean, we are seeing so much interiority.
Oh, there we
wow.
go.
Two dice, a 3 and a 6. Okay.
Yeah.
What happened? Did you finally understand it?
Oh, I think I'll tell you what happened. It's that Baga finally came along and helped you. I think he's not so much of this kind of broad thinker, he prefers much more direct action. He's not a thug with a heart of gold, which isn't to demean him in any way. It's just that he doesn't bother faffing around. I think you get a 10,000 word document, but I think Baga is delivering it to you, and he's like, "Oh, I saw he was writing this up. I felt maybe you could use help deciphering it." And I think that's really what makes the difference, is that he and you sit together and you put your heads together, and then you realize, and what comes out is actually quite striking, right? Very good. That's three more checks, yeah.
What have you learned about Goopy then? What is it that it's the actual the gist? What's at the heart of his story?
I think at
Crime's
the heart
bad.
of the
Crime's bad. Don't do drugs, kids.
indeed, just say no.
Just say.
I think at the heart of his story is actually a kind of I think he's so deeply appreciative of what Uduasha has given him, of things that he enjoys about the city, but he also is very aware that he gets loads of things by committing violence. I think that it's something of a memoir of someone who is trying to work through their emotions regarding this place that they live in, that they love, but they know that they're not a very good influence on. I think that what you can see is that maybe Goopy is now a bit like you used to be. you get like a something that might be published in the New Yorker, basically.
Perfect. I mean,
I'm a nerd. Okay, you're getting that. And it's like someone writing about the city that they love and struggling with their feelings about it, but like ending up with something quite poignant.
thank you, Goopy.
Goopy is not here, by the way. He's written this, and then like so Baga is really the person you're thanking, because if it weren't for Baga, you would understand nothing of this.
Well, thanks to the both of them for giving me a New Yorker banger. All right.
I mean, this is only one article so far, but yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. I think for my last downtime action, I'll just indulge my vice, get rid of some stress.
Makes sense. Who are you lecturing today?
Who am I lecturing today?
You just be lecturing Baga, to be honest. I think that would make sense.
Sure. What could I lecture him about? So he's here. It's funny because we've been saying that like I've been playing it like Abbas has some the like secrets about his past that his own family doesn't know, and two thugs he's only known for a couple of days are now like
sometimes it's nice to like kind of tell people who don't know you at all, right? Like no preconceptions.
Who are you going to tell? This fucking idiot Miraz? Your idiot nephew? No, he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't understand it.
All right, sure.
Overindulged.
I've overindulged. Oh no.
At 5 stress and you rolled a 6.
Yeah. I haven't overindulged in a while. What happens when I do that again?
So rules is written, it's one of a few things. The first is just heat. I think like fairly straightforward here, and it's very fitting for you.
I think so, yeah.
Create some kind of trouble. So, it's basically another entanglement. Third is quote unquote lost in your vice. And the fourth is that like you're tapped, current purveyor cuts you off. I feel like extra heat makes the most sense.
I think so, maybe. So
I marked the heat.
Very good. I think that makes sense. Is it necessary to play out the scene, or can we just say that?
I think it just makes sense, right? Like you just kind of go overboard. It's not even necessarily a bad thing in that I think part of the extra heat is also people hearing about this newspaper idea you have, right? Like Baga leaves and then ends up talking to his friends about this newspaper and so on, and people just end up like hearing about it, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's a problem in that, are you going to...
No such thing as bad publicity.
Sure, yeah, we'll see about that, won't we?
Okay. All right, yeah. I guess, that's it for me.
Excellent.
I'm stress-free. My newspaper's rolling on. Abbas comes back to the group, as happy as can be.
Excellent. And you come back to find that while you were away, there was an interloper of some kind of arcane and divine influence.
Listen, you come back, and the first thing that happens is that I throw a rope at you and some harnesses.
I think Abbas is going to Miraz, what's the meaning of this? Is this happening now? Cool.
Oh, we're going into a cave, Uncle. We're going into a cave, and we're going to rescue someone from the clutches of a forgotten god that we delivered them into in the first place.
Well, all right then. Just just a day in the life.
Is it just a day in the life? Is it really?
You don't know what Abbas has been up to.
Abbas is old. He has some experiences.
Yeah.
I think in the recap, an important thing to mention that we didn't is that the reason that we are so concerned about this cult and the cult of the Kingfisher and Kingfisher Grotto and so on is that when the avatar of the god, or like the chosen one of the god, whatever, Freya came to us, we understood her to be a member of the Skovland royal family, and that is why we gave up. Who was it? It wasn't Johannes, it was the other one. Maude?
Yeah.
So we gave up one of the Skovland royal siblings that were sheltering in our temple to Freya as kind of like, family and custody. That's what we sort of were. That was like the whole first score that we did way back. That's the effect of that. And then after passing Maude on to Freya, we were like, we should probably investigate that. That was kind of sketchy. And then we realized that we have given someone we were supposed to shelter up into the clutches of a forgotten god. And now we're like, hey, let's go make sure at least that's fine and maybe rescue them.
Yeah.
Right?
That's absolutely correct. The other sibling, Johannes, is still here. Entirely possible they're gonna try and like follow you into the caverns if they hear that like that's why you're going, because if you find out your sister is not actually in the company of like a familiar family member, but in fact some kind of weird forgotten god cult, you may be concerned about that.
Yeah, let's just not tell Bartholomew or whatever their name is. Oh, by the way, Miraz's new thing is not knowing Johannes' name and thinking his name is Bartholomew, but their name is
I see.
Bartholomew.
Okay, so this is one of the Skovlanders who stayed behind.
There's two of them, right? So there's Maude and then there's Johannes. Maude is the one who went with Freya,
Mhm.
and Johannes decided to stay behind because they liked it
Oh,
in the
okay.
temple.
Sure, all right. And Johannes is known as Bartholomew to Miraz because
That can't be asked keeping track.
Mira's an idiot, that's why.
your mind has been infected with Akaros imperialism.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes. So anyway, Miraz is looking at you expectantly, and he's not going to explain what's going on. He's just telling you to get ready for cave diving.
Cave diving. Well, I haven't done cave diving in a while. Not since the.
Pack a gun.
Sorry.
Pack a gun.
Oh, this this reminds me of the time where the rebellions in the mines. I was very young back then. I didn't really understand what was going on. But there was some action going on, and it really takes me back because I remember that even then someone just handed me a rope and some harness and told me to pack a gun, and we went down into the mines, and it was a really good time there. Let's go.
I think you say let's go, and then you turn around and find that Miraz is already gone.
Where are Vickers and Joan?
Yeah. So we are going via the cave that Vickers found, right? Yeah, I'm wondering if I need to acquire an asset for this. So I may be, in fact, acquiring an asset. It's stupid. I probably won't need it, but I'm tempted to do it anyway.
Excellent.
And yeah, I think Vickers is going to expend some. I think she's heard Abbas's stories about the mines and the things going on under Udwasha in the tunnels. And so I think she shall have gone to invest some of her money, of which she has kind of not that much because she spent a lot of it on food, but she will invest some of her money on protective equipment, which is to say a gas mask and gloves. Because you see there might be gas leaks and such down there.
Fair enough.
I mean, I had not thought about that, but now that you've brought this up, yes.
Thank you, Prince, for introducing something I can use my protective suit on.
Yes. You already have one, but Vickers does not. So
yes.
I shall roll our tier to see how good the equipment she gets is. She will probably try to get it for the rest of the crew, but I rolled a 5, so that means it's tier 1. So it's not completely shit.
It's better than completely shit, is what you can say about it.
Yes.
Because Miraz's is much better than even that, right?
Yes, Miraz's is actually professional. So I think we will see. I don't know if Joan has preparations to make on her own, but if she does not, then I think Vickers will be instructing Joan in the correct use of a gas mask.
I think Joan is actually absent.
Yeah, Joan is absent, and also Joan already knows how to use protective equipment. She's a freaking railjack, so
Yeah.
I think she's much better. Okay, in fact, then because Joan is not here, Vickers will have to do this herself, and so consequently, we are going to see Vickers in again a very eccentric combination of things, probably with like a gas mask and these long leather gloves that go all the way up to the elbow, and like a big leather apron. And then still like a dress under it, because she didn't think that far ahead.
And you still have to dress properly, and you know that you are, in fact, likely to meet royalty.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, we'll take off the protective equipment when we get there, and then she'll still be appropriate for the occasion, you see.
But at the same time, this needs to seem like an accident, right? Because, like, if you really wanted to go meet them, you would be going through the front door, which you're not.
Yeah. But you see, we're just exploring some caves, and this is appropriate cave exploring gear. So
Excellent. Okay.
It makes
right.
sense in Vickers' head, at least.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like, you've got some protective gear. What is Joan up to?
Joan is going to the train station.
Okay.
Bye.
Not in
Joan's
that
just
way.
leaving. She's exiting the campaign. She's like,
No,
I did
no.
not
Joan
sign up
is
for this.
acquiring an asset at the train
I guess.
station.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So I'm trying. What do you think the train station is? Because
Oh,
I'm going to meet my friend Kahara, who is a still active railjack.
It seems to me that the train station is almost integrated into the Imperial Quarter, right? Like that it is like it was built at the same time that the Imperial Quarter was built.
Yeah, it's in the
So
same
it's
area.
kind of like it's kind of ubiquitous. This is something that like I actually found quite like surprising in like, for example, parts of like London or Hong Kong, where like the public transport station is in the same like structure, the same building as like offices and so on. Because I'm so used to imagining like a train station as like a separate thing. I think in this case, it's probably that like the train station is part of like also like a very large complex that includes, you know, like Imperial Embassy, maybe like a hotel, and I think you can see that like this is kind of the epitome of imperial efficiency and imperial
Right.
like might. And it needs to appear like that, especially here, right? Like it's probably there's probably the only train stations that are as well kept in the Empire are in Duskwall and the Imperial City.
So I think there's probably between all these like grandeur of these these like really impressive facades and stuff, there is a kind of very narrow alley that she goes through, and it brings her to the much less decorated, actually like positively drab switchyard, where all the trains are kept when they're not driving on the rails. And she crosses some of the rails to a kind of rundown rail workers' bunkhouse, where she hopes to find her friend.
Yeah, and I think it's not difficult to find Kahara. Tell me something about how do you know each other?
So I think that we were on the same team, at least for a time, and we became very close friends. And when it was obviously time for Joan to leave, she tried to get Kahara to join, but Kahara wasn't able to. It's not that she didn't enjoy the work, but it wasn't a good financial decision for her, basically, and for her family.
And I think like being a railjack is the kind of thing where once you've put in the years, you actually it's a very safe kind of like job in that like you get paid quite well for your time. It's unsafe in that you are still, you know, on top of speeding trains trying to fight ghosts. Experienced railjacks actually like are not badly reimbursed because the Empire understands like how important they are, right?
Yeah.
I think we see Kahara I think she's managed to carve out a little bit of space for herself. So even though normally, like, you know, the railjacks kind of sleep in bunks and they sleep in shifts. It's not even like you necessarily have to like have a permanent place. But I think Kahara does because she's like near and like well respected, and she's been able to like kind of carve that out for herself. And she's right now on like the equivalent of shore leave, right? Like she doesn't have any like anything coming up for maybe like the next like few days, and she's just hanging out. And I don't think her. You can just correct me if you disagree, but I don't think her family lives in Iruvian. I think her family lives elsewhere, and she sends the money to them.
Yeah, that seems that seems like it's true.
Yeah. So I think that like this is why even though like she is like well paid for her time, still like living in the quarters that the train company is given to her, because the vast majority of the money goes elsewhere. And yeah, I think she does not really like reading a book maybe when you get there, and she doesn't really like respond to you apart from maybe like just like flicking her eyes up and like then back down at the book, because like she knows that like whatever you need, you will go for it, right? So she's not gonna. I don't think she's very much like of a like she's not into like the social niceties.
No, that's fair. I also think Joan is very much blending in because even though she's not wearing the Railjack uniform or kit currently, she does have the kind of civilian clothes that you would have under it, just like a striped shirt, grey trousers with suspenders, that sort of thing. And she'll go sit next to Kahara, who I think is a very large person because she is an anchor. That's her role in the team. Is like
Yes.
when you have to get at a ghost that is like in an awkward spot on the side of a cart or something, you have to kind of go down with ropes, but one person stays at the top and makes sure you don't fall.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what Kahara would do. So it's a very reliable person.
Absolutely. And she's like your reliable belay partner who will like walk you through the job. And I think probably it is this sense of like stability and comfort that like you used to get from Kahara before you left for the temple. Now, in some ways, the temple provides that for you, but it's not exactly the same.
So, okay, Joan will kind of pull out a chair, sit down next to her. You staying here long?
For more days, as a train to Blackvale, seems like a long job, but I think I'll be up to the challenge.
Yeah, seems like a. You staying over on the other side as well, or are you do they have you coming back immediately?
Probably coming straight back. I think it's running low on.
Oh shit, that's the toughest one.
Yeah. And I think she says running low on supplies. They're running low on everything up in Skovland, and I don't think they can afford to keep any of us there. We have to go all the way up, and then we have to come all the way down. And just to like give you some color here, so Uduasha is the capital of the southernmost island in the Shattered Empire, and Blackvale is the city in the northernmost tip of Skovland, which is the northernmost island. So she's like going to make a very long journey. I think is why she's like taking some time off before she has to.
Now I feel bad about the fact that I'm going to make your day harder.
I don't think anything you're going to do is going to make my day harder, Joan.
Fair enough. I ran into some trouble. Saw some guys down in the lower districts. They're talking about ghosts in the city. Of course, that's impossible. And while she's saying this, she's kind of keeping her voice low and kind of furtively looking about because she really doesn't want to know all the other railjacks here to know that there's ghosts in the city, except Kara.
In fact, when you say this, you first say, I got in some trouble, Kahara will immediately like take you very seriously. Then when you say ghosts, I think she will like put her book down and say, ghosts in Uduasha? It's not possible.
It's not supposed to be. And yet these guys have the scars.
Fuck.
I think I know where they are. I've got some people together. We're going to deal with them. Can't have this sort of thing spreading. I was hoping I could get some supplies.
I think Kahara is the kind of person who's like, sure, you don't need my help.
Just get ready for your journey. Just make sure you're rested for that.
If you need me to stay, I will, right?
I know. She's kind of like anxiously tapping her foot at this point.
I mean, yeah. And I think Kahara just like impresses this upon you, and then when you're like, I know, she says, what do you need?
I've got most of the stuff. We just don't have any ammunition that can hurt ghosts.
I can get you some ammunition. Any whisper stuff? I don't know, does anyone know how to use a lightning hook?
That's gonna be my job. She smiles awkwardly.
And I think like she says this because it was like, you're retired, right? And I think it's like come on, man, like why are you putting yourself back in, like straight back into it? She says, tell you what, you can borrow my lightning hook. I think she knows that you still have yours.
Mm-hmm.
This is like her way of saying, but take mine and then like I will feel better.
Oh, all right. I'm bringing it back before you leave.
Yeah, you do that. I can't afford to get on the train without it.
No, you really can't.
Let me see what I can do with the ammunition. I think this is where you should roll, because I think, like, you should definitely take a die for her.
Mhm.
She's gonna go the extra mile here. And this is
Yeah.
exactly the kind of person you should ask for help, so...
So I think this is going to be a prowl roll because
Hmm.
we are going to kind of mooch some from the armory.
Very good. Yeah.
And that's not. I don't think that like
That's
taking
not
a little
risk-free.
bit more. Yeah, but I also think that like taking a little bit more ammo than you would get rationed is an entirely uncommon thing among real
That's
jacks.
true. Yeah. I think here it is... It's not risk-free in that it's always about attention.
Hmm.
There's a chance that, like, somebody might ask questions, somebody might see something that they shouldn't. That's really the risk. I don't think there is a risk of, like, you being stopped or you not getting what you want.
All right.
Especially because Kahara's, like, going to do this for you. She's not even thinking about this, right? Like, prowl, let's just say controlled, I think. I think, like, the consequence is about 1 heat. And yeah, you get an extra die for your friend. So that's 3 dice total.
Yeah. All right. Let's see how it goes. We sneak into. We go back. I assume she has more access than I do, which is why her help is useful here.
Yeah. 3 and a 2 and a 4.
Mhm.
So in fact, it's her help that gets you that, right? Because I think
Yeah.
there's a moment where someone like spots the two of you as something like, "I'm not supposed to be back here. I thought you were retired." And then Kahara's like, "Shut your gob and mind your own business." Right? And just makes sure
Yes.
that, like, you know, like, don't ask questions that you don't want any answers to. But that's kind of like, it gets on that person's nerve. So that's kind of like where that 1 heat is coming from.
All right.
Get into the armory, and I think with a 4 you get... What are you looking for? Is it just electroplasmic ammunition, or is there something else that you're, like, also after?
Specifically electroplasmic bullets. If there's anything here that I can take with that like sparks me as, oh wait, that would be useful, I would probably take it. But on the 4, I'm not sure that that's the case.
So I think here, basically, you'll get ammunition, and you probably spot a couple of, like, fine spirit bottles that could maybe capture a ghost in the way that you might like them to. But
Mhm.
Hara definitely... You know this as well, right? But, like, she definitely, like, tells you, you know, like, people will notice that going missing. So
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that to you.
Like, I mean, you can if you like, but yeah, that's the other kind of thing that's there. But ammunition, I think, like, is just going to, like, hand you a little more than, like, any normal radio track would need, like a standard operation. And she'll pull out, like, a little form and she'll sign in it, and it'll be like, oh, you know, miscellaneous something, 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 whatever. I think she hands you her lightning hook, I think, now, and says, she hands you a lightning hook and says, "Let me know if you need anything else."
Yeah, I don't think so. Thanks. Like 2 days, and then I give her help.
Stay steady out there.
You too. And then I just like I run off and I go down the steps and across the switchyard again to get out of sight as fast as possible.
I think we just see Kahara not as nimble as you, right? But, like, she's got, like, a surety about her, and she watches you leave, locks the armory behind her, shoots anyone who's looking at her like a glare as if to be like, "You want to say something to me?" And just, like, goes back to her bunk, continues to read a book.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Return to the temple.
Very good. I'm curious. Do you have a gun?
I have a pistol.
Does everybody else know you have a gun?
I don't know that they do. But like it's I don't think it's something that she has used. You know, it's the kind of thing you just keep in a book in your purse or whatever. Just more in the case it makes you feel safe rather than to actually use it.
Makes sense. Right. So I think that is where can kind of end that scene.
Mhm.
Does anybody else have anything else they want to do?
Not me.
Yeah, me neither. I think Miraz and Abbas are just already on their way, right?
I mean, yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
Um,
Abbas didn't even need an explanation.
Let's talk about the engagement roll. So you start with 1 die for sheer luck. Is this operation particularly bold or daring? Yes, absolutely. That's 2 dice. Is it overly complex or contingent on many factors? Think
Nope.
so? You appear to be like drilling into the place, and then that's it. The plan's detail expose a vulnerability of the target or hit them where they are weakest. Don't think so.
No.
No.
I think you're about to lose a die for is the target strongest against their approach, or do they have particular defenses or special preparations? Because you are drilling through those defenses that they've put up. You literally tried to block people from using the exact route that you're using. Back to 1 die. Any of your friends or contacts provide aid, they already have. Any enemies or rivals interfering? Oh, seems to me that Marion is definitely interfering here because you aren't attacking the revolutionaries. You're attacking the cult, right? But the revolutionaries are allied with the cult now. So I think that is going to hurt you. Now you are down to 0 dice, which means that even if there are other elements you want to consider, which, yeah, they're higher tier than you, there's a very stressful mob boss, lawyer, anyway, involved, already at 0 dice. So, you can't lose more dice. Hardel Subramanian.
We would lose this die immediately, but just worth bearing in mind that we have Glory Incarnate. Take +1 die to
Yes,
engagement
correct.
when acting in accordance to your god's desires. We would lose this, but we
It's
have his
fair.
blessings.
Yeah. So let's say that, in fact, so you get a die for doing the thing that your god wants you to do, but such is the power of the lawyer. His vast knowledge of everything that is going on in the city is going to take that die away from you.
Mm-hmm.
I will
Remind me
remind.
what's up with the lawyer?
Yes, I was going to say. So
Nice.
basically, when Freya came to the temple, brought with her quite taciturn man who turned out to actually be part of the foundation, who was the lawyer of a man known only as Munna. And
Right.
well, what ended up happening is that Miraz asked Hardil for a favor, and Hardil said, well, you do something for me, I'll do something for you. And so now you're in debt to a very dangerous man. Not going to be a problem at all, I promise you. It's going to be totally fine. He's just so nice.
Yeah, checks out.
Oh, 0 dice. Who would like to roll your 0 dice?
I'll
I'll do
roll.
it.
And then
Okay, you do it.
Mhm. 0 dice income.
2
Double
3s?
threes.
Yeah. I saw 6. I was like, wow, that's amazing. No, it's 3 and 3 make 6.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh yeah,
As
desperate
it should
position.
be.
We say come back in 5 minutes, and I will have a think about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want this one to be proper desperate.
Oh,
It's a very stupid thing we're doing.
yes. Well, I as in Abbas is still not clear what's going on, but he's a family man, and if Vickers and Miraz are on board, then he's on board too.
I'm sure we took you aside and explained to you what's going on.
Yes. At which point Abbas went, "Oh, you just gave her away to a god." And, well, see, this is why you shouldn't do anything while I'm not around, Miraz. You're still learning, right? Please, try to be patient. And then I don't know, a couple more snake metaphors. At which point your eyes glazed over.
Probably gestured Joan and saying they were having some sort of Skovlander moment. I let them take care of it. Just if
Yeah.
cousin Joan can't work out who's a real Skovlander and who's some person who was stuck inside a grotto with some god pouring nonsense into their head, that's not my business.
Mhm.
Is that the only one who left? Is everyone back?
I've been here.
I think we've
I'm
all
back.
been here.
Shall we?
We shall.
How do we all die?
Oh, you have a tier 1 active gear. How good is your rope?
Hey, it's as good as our other gear. which is also tier 1.
Tier
Because
1,
that's our tier.
yeah. Yes, correct.
No, actually, our gear is quality 2.
Oh,
Oh.
we have quality gear. Hey,
Yes.
Well done, you then. Hey, that's good to know. The second question I have for you is, what are you doing to avoid detection by people who might be kind of like looking for you?
Being quiet.
Excellent.
No,
Hey.
I have the sneaking suspicion that we are not good enough at sneaking to like give it more thought beyond that.
That's fair. It's totally reasonable.
Mhm.
Okay.
I want to point out that I have brought a pickaxe because we're going through cave. And I am
Wonderful.
I am securing us very firmly with it when the footing gets unsteady. So I'm not being quiet. I'm in heavy load, by the way, on that note.
Yes.
Excellent.
I have brought my demolition tools.
Great.
Mhm.
What kind of
very
loads
quiet.
are all of you in?
Heavy as well.
What about Abbas and Miraz?
I
Heavy?
think
I'm always heavy.
I think heavy as well. I mean, might as well be fully decked out.
Actually, you know what? We're trying to take these people a little bit seriously, right?
Mhm.
I think Miraz would have like as far as preparations, he would have like disappeared for a bit and come back with a ton of very sketchy looking books of like how to do burglary for dummies, essentially.
Mhm. I mean,
Uh,
to be fair here, what we are officially doing is just exploring a tunnel, right? The
Yes.
tunnel we're entering through is not formally owned by anyone. We're just kind of hanging out. We're urban
Yeah.
exploring, right?
We are
We're not
just
Spelunking.
urban exploring with a backpack full of electroplasmic ammunition.
Yeah. we're so it's mildly suspicious, but I don't think sneaking is the angle that makes sense. Like people will see us go into this cave. It's just we have a
Mhm.
legitimate excuse to go into the cave.
Fair enough.
So
But I will spend 2 of my stash to take an extra downtime action to train playbook and get the saboteur ability.
Okay.
interesting.
When you wreck, the work is much quieter than it should be, and the damage is hidden from casual inspection. I think this would be quite handy in terms of like bypassing any security problems.
Yes, wonderful.
Anyway, Tree, you were saying.
Yeah. So I think that begin this excavation / exploration spelunking trip in Bundavest, and as you go through the caverns, you quickly realize that this is not something that like you should do willy-nilly. Right? You have to be quite careful about it. And one of the reasons you have to be quite careful about it is that the inner depths of Uduasha are not very well mapped at all, if they are mapped. And realize that all that is keeping you kind of going in the right direction is some sense of like internal compass. Because you were told, like this is roughly where the Kingfisher's Grotto is. This is how you should find your way there, and so on. That theoretical knowledge fails you very easily. At some point, you find yourselves, I guess you're all like tied to each other, trying to climb some particularly precipitous little like outcropping, when one of the rocks in your hands gives way. You realize that like it's not necessarily the quality of the gear, it's also the quality of the rock. And as soon as the rock gives way, so does the rock under your leg, Miraz, and you're like, oh, that's concerning. And you look around and you realize all 4 of you are very heavily hit. You're about to fall down into some kind of inky black depth hit by nothing more than the torches that you're carrying with you. And here's the desperate position.
Yeah. Where are we trying to go? Just to establish that. Sorry. Are we going up, down, sideways? Like what is the distance we are trying to cross as this happens?
I feel like you're trying to like traverse something sideways.
Yeah.
Which is like it's in many ways more difficult than climbing upwards. And so far you've been fine. You haven't been like really climbing, you've been hiking. But I think now you're coming to a point where you're really having to like figure this out and you're carrying all this stuff with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the weight is the problem, and it's like a crumbling pathway. All right. I don't know if I'm the first to act. Maybe someone else is, but I think that as Joan established this work order for Railjacks, I think Vickers is actually the anchor, and it's not that she is particularly big or anything. It's just that she has the pickaxe, so she's in a good position to anchor us to walls.
Yes.
Right. And so I think what Vickers will do is, her instinct normally would be to do some kind of like action stunt and just wall run out of here. But since we're tied together, she is much more concerned for everyone else. So she is going to ram this pickaxe firmly into the wall to form like an anchor. And then she's probably going to turn to Joan and say like, right, would you mind terribly going ahead? I think the rock is, how do you say this? Uneasy? It reminds me a little bit of those candies. Miraz, you know what I'm talking about, those crumbly candies? As she says.
Wow. I mean, like, it's
that's the
genuinely falling apart right now. Like, now is the time. You don't have time to talk.
Miraz has his eyes closed. He's hugging the wall.
I'm telling Joan to go ahead and secure us. She's good at this, and I'm the anchor. So she's explained to me how this works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have we
So
taken?
the wall is good.
I was saying that have we taken the time to maybe like use the rope to tie ourselves to each other so that okay.
That's precisely why Vickers isn't just running ahead but anchoring us. So she is like, her plan is for Miraz and Abbas to hold on to her, and for Joan to go ahead and secure our rope to something on the other side.
All right.
This is great, but I do want to point out that like, and I think this is important to note, the reason that you have not just fallen off the side of the rock is because you have quality gear. If you did not have very good gear, the rope would snap, like your harness would come off, that would be that. Like you'd have had to like something much more drastic.
Good point. Everyone make sure to mark climbing gear already and lantern.
Oh yeah, climbing gear, that's a better. Yeah, I'd marked burglary gear, but climbing gear is better. Yeah.
Also probably lantern.
Oh, we don't all need to carry a lantern.
Fair enough.
I have the pickaxe. Someone else can carry the lantern.
Okay, I got the lantern.
Yes. Anyway, I will probably be assisting Joan depending on what you do, but it depends on how you're approaching this, Joan.
Yeah, I think the general idea I have is to keep climbing until I find a patch of rock that I do trust, then make an extremely secure anchor there, and span a rope between them, so that you can mostly trust the rope rather than the rock that you're climbing as you're climbing between those places. Is there anything in sight that seems like either secure rock or like something we can stand on?
Unfortunate answer is that the only thing in sight that looks like it is both secure and something you can stand on is the thing that you were making your way towards before like this started happening. Right? So I think the way that I'm imagining this is that this was like a particularly tricky section that you were trying to like sidle your way along in order to get to the next safe bit. And now the path to that bit is falling apart. There's nothing else really here. Because like below you is a vast cavern leading presumably into the Undercity and /or the river Dilkusha.
Well, then it seems like I will give Joan a boost. I think that she's jumping.
Yeah, that seems like the reasonable.
So I think we see Vickers holding on with both hands to the pickaxe that's like stuck in one of the bits of wall. It's not that the rock is harder there, right? It's just the pickaxe is stuck deep, so it doesn't come away as easily. And with like Abbas and Miraz holding on to her, she is going to brace against the wall and like stick out her hips. Because this is a move in roof ball. You can jump off of someone's hip. That's totally a thing you can do if they stand broad-legged and are well positioned.
Sure,
and
but like,
Vickers is very good at this.
Well, they're
So-
hanging from a wall, maybe not so, but we're gonna try anyway.
I mean,
I'm
like,
hanging from a pickaxe. This is a high risk maneuver, right?
oh yeah, absolutely. Okay then.
But I have enough space to brace my legs against the wall and my arms against the pickaxe, and so I'm going to make myself a platform that you can jump off of.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Like quality gear seems to have been like a very important upgrade for you because again, without that pickaxe being like really good.
Yeah,
Wow. Excellent.
Yep. But we gotta act quickly here, so I've
Yeah, you
spent the
do.
stress to assist Joan, and
Yeah.
you have a bonus dice to this move.
Desperate,
Mhm,
and I think
thank
you can
you.
do this. So you're at standard effect right now. Yeah, I think it's desperate standard.
Yes. All right. Cool. I think
I
I'm just
have a
gonna do
devil's bargain for you.
it this way. Oh, do you?
Devil's bargain is as you look up, you see faintest wisp of a ghost before it disappears.
Fun.
How does that help?
It doesn't help you. It's bad for you, to be clear. But it might give you some like much needed motivation. Well, no, little needed motivation. Plenty
Yes.
motivated.
I'm plenty motivated, but even more now that I have taken this devil's bargain.
Like,
So now you have 2 bonus dice.
Two
Lovely.
bonus dice. And it's literally just gonna be in climbing terms like a full dino to
absolutely.
try and just like look at and hope that I can find a handhold as soon as I land or get close to that more solid patch of wall. Actually, I think she has a baton and she's gonna try and catch and like slam it into the wall as soon as she can.
Same pickaxe maneuver in reverse. Wow. It's
Mhm.
4 dice, a
Nice.
6, a 5, a 2, and a 3. So full
Uh-huh.
success.
Mm-hmm.
Describe this this maneuver through which you manage to like jam the baton into the rock and like steady yourself.
Yeah, so what I think happens is she jumps out, she has a jutting piece of rock in mind that she's gonna hang on, and hopes that it's gonna be stable enough. She reaches, grabs onto it, swings past, bracing her feet as to the wall as well, and with the last limb, her fourth limb, her hand, she swings through and gives the baton like the first impulse to drive into the wall, and then just hammers on it. Grabs a hammer and hammers on it 2 times to drive it in
Wow.
deeper.
Yeah, and that's badass. Because is somehow jammed herself against the side of the rock, holding this pickaxe, and
Yeah, I think Vickers is in a very interesting, legs wide apart on something that will hold the pickaxe firmly in the wall, kind of slowly coming away
No,
with Miraz and Abbas hanging off of her. But now we have a rope anchored somewhere else safe. So as she is in this kind of ridiculous and precarious position, she will say like, "All right, hurry across, please. I don't know how much longer this will hold." And she's
Mhm.
going to go last because that's the kind of person she is.
while they're doing that, Joan is ramming a second baton into the wall and trying to make the rope more stable as they're like preparing to go across.
It seems like at this point the best thing to do is a group action,
yes, probably.
Mhm.
I think so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
but I'm going to improve our position first.
Okay.
So the entire plan kind of hinges on Vickers not coming undone and falling off, right?
That would be very
Well,
important.
But we have the rope anchored at 2 ends, kind of. One of them is Vickers, the other one is Joan.
Yeah.
At the
But-
moment.
Yes, but but you're an important part of the entire
Yeah.
process, and also you are physically an anchor. Yeah, okay. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to reach inside my bandolier, and I'm going to first pour out some binding oil onto your hands
hmm
to stick you to the wall.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't think the hands is the problem. I think it's the pickaxe to the wall, honestly. So
Okay,
I think
yeah,
it makes
so-
more sense to pour it on the head of the pickaxe.
Yes, I do that.
hmm
However, you would want this pickaxe afterwards.
Yep.
Right? So I'm also going to hand you some alkahest. And
Mhm.
I'm going to bind you to the thing, and then I'm going to give you the alkahest to use afterwards.
Yep. All right. So
Yeah. Is that okay? Like, is that an action?
This does not sound to me like
Like I'm using up my alchemicals, so maybe that's the
Yeah.
cost in and of itself.
and I feel like whatever cost is about to happen fictionally is going to come from this roll, right? It seems
Yeah.
like you're risking like that you might fall off or something might go wrong, but all of these things might happen from the group action anyway. So I don't think there's like a need for a separate action here. You're just like kind of
Yeah, you're using an item to just straight up improve our position or effect.
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
that's what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Time to prowl across.
And I think Vickers is part of this group action too, because she will come across, but just
makes
after
sense.
you guys have gone. So
Mhm.
Is it still desperate? It seems like it might be, or would it now be standard?
I think it's still desperate because again, like the risk is still that all of you fall into the cavern and die.
Yeah, maybe now instead of limited, we now have standard effect.
Standard
because
effect,
now
yeah,
the pickaxe
yeah.
will
all
work.
of us can
Yeah.
get across. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
like we can deal with this problem if we succeed. Makes sense. So desperate standard group action. I think I'm leading it because I'm the anchor. I think that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think so.
Like Vickers is the person placed under strain here because Joan's rope is secured to a wall. Vickers' rope is just secured to her. So this is pure muscle strength to hold up.
I mean, it's like I'm not gonna lie. If you manage this, it will be incredible.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, prowl, I suppose. Moving
Yeah.
around.
Tree. Those bargains.
Those bargains. So there's a couple of things. I feel like the first thing is entirely possible Johannes is like following you and it's gonna imminently become a problem. I also think that like Ghost may now like we in Apocalypse World you signal future badness like maybe the ghost like manifests now because it's clearly the most desperate like situation for you. And the third thing is you got to leave all your gear behind. Or like the only way that you manage to like get across is if you like cut yourself free of the climbing gear once you're on the other end.
Ghost, please.
Excellent. Joan,
Yes.
that like moment where the ghost went from visible to invisible, I think you now realize it wasn't the ghost kind of like choosing to manifest away. It was just the ghost turning invisible. And the reason that you realize this is that you're still very securely tied to your end of the rope. This ghost appears to be trying to change that. And it's not going to manage it right now, but it'll start trying, after this action roll.
Like, is it sewing at the rope?
It's like, the way that I'm imagining it is like kind of like a poltergeist. So it's like moving the rope and like jerking it and like just making it very difficult to operate.
Okay.
Right. Well, we're doing a group action. Are we doing that? Oh, Miraz took a bonus dice from this.
Yes.
Okay.
I rolled a 2.
Oh, you rolled it.
So I take a stress.
You saw a ghost in the distance. It's like you.
So Abbas and me are rolling also. This is a group action. I will not modify the roll in any way. I also roll a 2.
And a 2, okay. Abbas, somehow you're gonna have to like save this.
I mean, yeah.
I have to say, I think
unlikely.
Oh my god, a 2 and a 3.
Yeah.
So those 5 dice are not a single success. I'm sorry to tell you, like, risk is pretty much that you're not able to do this, right? I think Vickers, like, I presume you'll want to resist some of this, but the way that it's looking now is to see that even though, like, it's quite frankly a Herculean task, kind of like maintain your core strength so that Miraz and Abbas can they make their way up. But like the way that Joan managed it is that like she has incredible like flexibility, right? She was just able to jump up. Miraz and Abbas they have the rope, but like they still have to make their way up, and it's really not quite so easy. I think Miraz, when you see the ghost, maybe what happens is that it shocks you so much you lose your footing for a second, and you're gonna fall. You're gonna take Abbas with you, and because you're fine to support them when they're also supporting themselves. I don't know if you're fine to support them when they're falling. I think what's gonna happen now is that like you're gonna fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna protect.
Okay.
And it's going to be like, I think it's going to be. I'm letting myself drop, grab someone's hand, and then catch the ball again.
Oof.
And I'm using goat-footed to avert a consequence from falling.
Oh, that's incredible.
Oh,
Nice.
Rail jacks. I mean, you've been here before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we see
But it
this.
was.
Go on.
I was going to say there are 3 of us, 3 consequences, so I don't think you can negate all of it.
That is
right?
true.
You can
But you
probably
are
say one of
connected
us
to
is
each
dead.
other, so
Yeah.
maybe it will have some effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe someone scot-free and the rest of us
I
are dead,
think
right?
I think I can do and resist on the other end actually.
Mhm.
So we fall. Joan will have to grab Miraz because he is closest.
Mhm.
And you said this is above the river, right? Tree?
I mean,
Like,
like,
there's
you don't
water
know
up-
what it's above. Like, the river is one of the things that could be down there. You can't really make out.
Okay, then I guess my idea doesn't work, which is a pity. If we could hear water, I had an idea. But
Let's see Joan's resistance.
she doesn't have to
Oh,
resist.
she
She's
is.
just
She
go
can.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
fair.
special armor,
Yeah.
right?
Nice.
Mhm. It's 1 stress, not even special armor.
Oh, yes, no matter the circumstance, you can spend
Yep.
1 stress to avoid any consequence. Yeah, very good. Oh man, like I just love the idea of like this happening and then Joan just going, oh, I've seen this before, and like sailing through it.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Okay, I thought about it. I have a way for me to resist, and I think this can resist the consequence on behalf of other people because Joan can catch Miraz, and then there's going to be a boss, and then there's going to be me with all my heavy gear. So I think my resistance is to just let go of them and use my roof ball instincts to like have a safer fall. It's kind of
Okay.
a prowess protect. Like
Oh.
I'm going to catch myself somewhere else that isn't on the other people hanging on the rope.
Okay, great.
I guess I still have my pickaxe, so actually, yeah, I think it's not catching herself because it does not make sense. I think it's a controlled descent. Basically, Vickers will use the pickaxe to just like grate through this crumbly wall and just slow her fall. So I'm still gonna go down, just hopefully not painfully. I think it's still as a consequence I'll be cut off from the others.
And in fact, if you do this, what will happen is that the ghost will come after you because you are an isolated target.
That makes sense.
There's no reason to go after 3 people when you can just go after 1 person.
That makes sense. Someone will have to deal with that, but I'm rolling prowess now, and what I want as an outcome of this is that like I don't take any damage from the fall, but I might get cut off from the others.
Absolutely.
Okay. Here we go. I take more
and a
stress.
4. That's
Because
1
of that
stress.
group action, I've used up almost all my stress for this entire score now.
Excellent, amazing.
Like I'm at 8 out of 9 because I took so much from the group
Okay.
action failing.
Hoping all of you failed. Yeah, fair.
Yep. But yeah, so I think I let go and I will just slowly fall down. Like I have a pickaxe, I have tools, and plus it's not like probably a completely sheer drop, so there's probably some amount of like sliding down a very
Oh, yeah.
steep wall, right? So
Absolutely. Like I think what it is that like it's kind of like a canyon in that falling down like this very steep wall. It hurts quite badly, but like nothing you haven't had before.
mhm.
And then at some point, I think we see you kind of like fall over the edge of something. And we don't know quite what's underneath there, which say the camera doesn't know. You're about to find out.
Yep.
So as you see this happen, a ghost that was like beginning to give you trouble, you can sense its like intelligence or whatever low cunning that it's the set of instincts it's operating on. Immediately like make the decision that like, oh, this isn't worth it. Like there's much better prey down there, right? And the ghost is still invisible. Like you know where it is. Miraz saw it for like a second. Like I don't think Vickers even knows that it's out there.
No, I want to point out don't have a lamp. So
Absolutely. This is why when Klow said earlier we should all mark lanterns, I was like, or not, it's fine. And you were also like, no, we don't all need lanterns, right? Fantastic.
Lanterns are for nerds.
Lanterns
Yes.
are for nerds. Yeah.
I still have my climbing gear and my pickaxe. I'll be fine. These
It's
help
okay.
against ghosts somehow.
Indeed.
Just
But,
use your pickaxe to strike against the wall and create some sparks that you can use to see.
Set your climbing gear on fire.
Yeah, this is what Vickers would do if she had paid any attention in Sparkcraft class.
Indeed. Yeah.
So aren't those
Yeah,
kind
so-
of
Playing
sparks?
roof ball.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna make an attempt to stop this ghost before it gets to Vickers.
But like, what's
Um,
our situation now? Like, the
No,
rest
no.
of
So
us?
like, yeah. So
it'd
before you can do that, I think what's happening now is, your anchor has fallen off.
Yeah.
And this is usually what happens just before teams of railjacks die.
Wonderful.
So what are you doing to make sure that like Miraz and Abbas are still on the harness? They're not going to fall down, and you're on like safer ground. So it's not like they will fall, but they still need to be pulled up somehow.
that's easy.
Yeah.
John, take my hand.
I don't know if you can reach them. I'm imagining you like
Wait, who is
dangling.
saying that?
I can. because my hand is very long.
Right.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Excellent.
And I think it like he says it, don't take my hand, and he's expecting like a very dramatic sort of like, cool noise. It like bursts forward. But instead what happens is creak, 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 creak.
Oh, that's very good.
And so blows out our brief candle. I named the disciples of the Ceaseless Temple thus, with both their given names and taken. Soumithri, called Tree. Zoheb, called Klow. Prince, Emma, and Aadiyat, called Soap. Intro music, Jalandhar by Kevin MacLeod. Outro music in Kiravani Ragam by Srinivas. Blades in the Dark by John Harper and Evil Hat Productions. Iruvian playbooks by Johnstone Metzger. Follow us at Desperate Attune on Twitter or email us at desperateattune@gmail.com. Support us at kofi.com/desperateattune.
On the next episode of Desperate Attune.
See, if I give you my robes and you apply the oil onto it, right? Now, we could say that that's now a vehicle or a mount that I could now handle because I do have a point in finesse. So
Yes.
This could all work out. All right.
Yes.
Wow.
We will have our own hang glider.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your robes are now a vehicle or mount. That
mean-
is
Yeah.
pretty incredible.
I mean, okay.
Let's see if it works out first.
Yeah.
While this is happening, Jonas is like in a little pile on the ground next to Vickers going, ow. And then she turns around and then sees this and shit.